Hi, everyone. It's great to have you here. I'm Teresa Young, and I'm passionate about helping healthcare leaders stay ahead of the curve when it comes to new technologies by simplifying IT concepts into business oriented language. So, whether you're struggling with data initiatives, trying to make informed decisions about new technologies, or just dealing with the constant changes in the market, got you covered. So, let's talk about one of the greatest blockers to data interoperability that I've encountered as an experienced healthcare informaticist. It's the concern around data privacy and safety. So, how do you choose between getting more data for better decision making while being able to exchange data with your outside partners while keeping that data safe and keeping it secure? It's a tightrope that organizations are constantly having to walk. Well, according to an article in Chief Healthcare Executive, the US Department of Health and Human Services publicly reports all breaches affecting at least 500 individuals. In 2022, the HHS Office of Civil Rights reported 600 breaches, and each one of those breaches involved at least 500 people. And the 11 largest of those breaches, it affected more than 21.5 million people in the US. So, in perspective, the 61 other breaches affected at least 100,000 individuals. So these are not small numbers, right? These breaches not only compromise your patient privacy, but they also put individuals at risk of identity theft and financial fraud. This is why it's so important, and this is why compliance departments and your legal departments and your government affairs departments are so absolutely tight about data security and data privacy. Well, knowing that, we do know that healthcare organizations play a vital role in upholding security to ensure data privacy. And organizations implement comprehensive security frameworks, they do risk assessments, and they provide staff training on these privacy protocols. If you haven't done it, believe me, once you get in healthcare, you'll be doing it every single year because it's mandated. Well, when you have this proactive monitoring and vulnerability management, these are essential so that your IT departments can promptly identify and mitigate any potential threats that may be out there or that may be proposed in coming to your organizations. Well, let's talk about some examples of what these security threats are. In recent news, we've seen phishing attacks when criminals use highly targeted campaigns designed to elicit fake invoice payments. So they want to get into your system by saying, "Oh, check out this invoice, click the link." Things like that that you see all the time. And we're even seeing that starting to bleed into our own personal lives. Well, in 2021, there was this HIMSS presentation around malware and ransomware attacks. It showed that 48% of mid-sized hospital systems, they had issues that resulted in shutdown times. And when they looked at the average cost of having to shut down devices and all the operational disruptions that it caused, that estimated cost of those scams came to $21,500 per hour. That's a lot of lost resources and productivity. Well, these threats are serious and they have direct economic and emotional costs for your patients as well. Several years ago, I heard a mother speaking, and she talked about how she had a child who had passed away, and she has to relive the pain of that loss every time the phone rings because her child's medical identity was stolen. So they took her child's medical identity, meaning your medical record number, social security number, all those things that identified who her child was. They created another person with it, and then they were defrauding medical companies. And so, when that happens, all that blows back onto the end user, right? It comes back to the person's name and who they're looking for. And unfortunately, she was at the time, maybe 3 years ago, still fighting this battle after her child had passed like more than 5 years ago. So it's a sad situation, but it's something that we as healthcare organizations have to be mindful of. Well, the big question is, we know that there's a problem around data security and privacy, but do we have enough knowledge? Do we have enough controls in place? And do we have enough education within our organizations to understand, do we have to sacrifice privacy, and do we have to sacrifice our privacy and security to get the data that we need to innovate? right? Data interoperability is about sharing data. It can be sharing data with people within your network, people outside of your network, people you contract with, such as a vendor. Well, I can't say whether it's the solutions are here or not. In all honesty, the answers are still being formed out there, and they're very individualized to every organization. Larger organizations may be able to tolerate more risk. Smaller organizations may not. When it comes to a rural organization, healthcare organization, when you're out there, you're seen as the person in your business environment, in your ecosystem. And when trust is broken by a data breach, that reflects heavily and causes um, more blowback and those unintended consequences of people not trusting your system. So, yes, you know what? We've got to be very concerned with data privacy and security because, like I said, there's many trickle down effects when it comes to your patients and your members that are out there. But we also have to be able to innovate. And to do that, we need to have more data and we need to have more connections out there. And every time you make a connection, that means that you have one more chance of risk. But we can't be operating in silos anymore because we know that that doesn't serve our patients or our communities. Well, interoperability standards can help you to fortify security practices to protect your patient privacy by using proven secure exchange. Well, requirements that your data be encrypted at rest can add an additional layer of security to your internal systems. If anybody's filled out a security survey anytime in the past year or two, you'll see that that's one of the questions that's always being asked. Is your data encrypted at rest? How are you protecting the data that goes? When we use FHIR, our exchange mechanism between these trusted partners and between our FHIR partners, we use authentication and authorization that has a high level of security built in. When you come to health information exchanges, we have the common agreement around TEFCA. Remember, we talked about health information exchanges and what TEFCA was a couple of weeks ago. So you can go back and look at that video as well when I talked about health information exchanges and data interoperability. But we have TEFCA and the common agreement that says we've got these agreements in place. These are the security protocols that we're using. So we are in the data interoperability world thinking about how do we make it as safe as possible for organizations to come together and to share the data that they need to better the care for their patients and to also provide them um, efficiencies and help them understand their own businesses. These healthcare organizations help them understand their own businesses better because when you have data, you can do analytics. And when you have analytics, you can understand your problems. And when you understand the problems, then you can offer good solutions. Well, you know what? I also talk about things around Web3 and new innovative technologies that are coming out. And well, Web3 does support the use of private healthcare blockchains to provide solutions for identity management. One thing, I think I talked about that back last fall as well. You can find that video too. Smart contracts are another way that you can mitigate supply chain fraud. So there are new technologies that are out there that you can engage with to provide the data privacy and security that you need. Well, one thing that we do have to keep in mind as leaders in healthcare organizations when we talk to our IT teams that support our data security and privacy is that new technologies do bring new solutions to the market to solve the problems that have plagued healthcare for years. It may not look like it used to. We still have to evaluate what these technologies look like, and we have to be able to say, this is the best for right now and for where I am moving to as an organization. And right now, there's the challenge of technology moving faster and maturing faster than our own internal decision making processes, right? We've got security and privacy professionals and organizations who are going to need to be able to pivot and to evaluate these new technologies faster than ever before if we want to keep patient data safe. So, my charge to you leaders out there is to find the right balance of locking data down to protect the security and privacy of your patients and members, but not to let the fear of what may happen stifle innovation in your organizations. So, as we talk about data privacy and security, how are you going to weigh that together? If you have questions, you can always reach out to me here, book some time to speak with me. The link is down in the description. And let's have a discussion about what the strategy will be with your data interoperability initiatives. Data and security privacy is definitely one area that you want to talk about, investigate, and make sure that they're sitting at the table when you're thinking strategically about what you're going to be doing in the next year or two. All right. Well, thank you for joining me here. I'll catch you here again next week where we're going to be talking more about data interoperability and all the different facets in the healthcare organization that it touches, who should be considering it, and who should be at the table every time that you're having a conversation. All right. We'll see you guys here next week.